r/ask Reddit. What are you 100% sure of you saw, but nobody believes you? A blue heron was flying with a snake hanging from its mouth. The snake was still wiggling and trying to break free. It finally was successful, but the heron caught it in its foot and somehow in midair threw it back up into its mouth. He's probably so happy somebody saw that. And yet nobody believes him too. I was walking down a gravel road to a pool with friends when I felt someone poke me in my ass with a stick. So I turned around but my friends weren't holding a stick. Then I felt it again. So I told them to bug off. They looked confused. I felt it again while looking at them. I reached into my swim shorts to see what's up. Then I felt a branch between my ass cheeks. So I pulled it out. It was a big grasshopper. It was trying to squeeze in my crack. I felt violated but I let it go. TLDR, I was raped by a grasshopper. Related story. When I was less than 10, I was laying down on my friend's porch with my ear to the wood for some reason. I felt a sensation inside my ear and stood up to scratch it. An earwig fell out. I ran home crying to my mom and told her an earwig tried to go in my ear. She 100% dismissed it as a lie, saying earwigs don't go into ears. That's not why they call them earwigs. I told her about it again recently and she doesn't recall it at all, so I get zero closure. A dude asked me how to get to Planet Fitness. I told him it was just across the parking lot. I look down at my phone as he starts walking and after answering a text in about 10 seconds I look up and he's gone. The distance was about a quarter mile of empty parking lot. There were no cars nearby or driving away, so it didn't look like he got in a vehicle or anything. I looked all around but he was gone. Duckin' fitness ghost. I wish you many gains. He might have been some exercise aficionado extraterrestrial just trying to get back to his home planet Fitness. But your offhand comment regarding a parking lot allowed him to reconnect with the teleportation traffic control and he got home safely. But that's just my 2 cents. I used to do junior lifeguards at a small beach in CA. When you were old enough to be responsible, or at least act like it, you had to help out with the younger kids in the afternoon. It was my day to help out and we were leading the kids in stretches. The leaders were facing away from the water and the kids were lying on their backs, hugging their knee. I turned to look at the water. No real reason. I saw 2 seagulls dive bomb out of the sky. It looked like they were wrestling. They landed on the shore where the water isn't more than ankle deep. One of them gets the upper hand and started to hold the other one's head under the water, drowning it. Seagull 2 breaks free, rears its head back, screeches, then stabs the first seagull in the chest with its beak. The first seagull then takes off real quick and the second one flies after it. Not a single person believed me. Stabbing someone in the chest with your face is fairly metal. I wouldn't doubt it. Seagulls can be absolutely brutal, both to each other and to other animals. They basically give no ducks. I saw an elderly man walking his dog at the park pick up a snake, call it a bad boy and then guide it back into its hole in the ground. We have a large body of water in my town, and the geese that live on it are vicious, hardcore, nasty geese. If you cross the road they will chase you, hissing, and trying to bite you. Anywhere else I go the geese are timid, normal, and give you space. If anything they like people. The only way to keep the geese away in my hometown are by walking dogs. The dogs don't have to do anything, just be there. It's a popular walking route, and this older gentleman walks it at least once a day. The one night he just starts walking in the middle of the geese, and as the one hisses, he holds out his hand to let the geese sniff it, as if it were a dog, laughs when it hisses more and keeps walking. It was one of the most fearless moments I've ever seen from a grown man. A black cougar/panther in upstate NY ran across the road in front of me in the dark. I thought it was a skinny black lab until I saw its tail was as long as its body. Eastern cougars have been extinct for 50 years or more. I mean, I'm not saying that's what you saw, but things like that have happened to animals thought to be extinct. They found a cougar in CT several years ago and assumed it was an escaped pet. DNA confirmed it was a Montana animal that had migrated across the Midwest and Northeast. As I wrote that, it occurred to me that maybe it was a pet, captured in Montana as a kit. I saw that cougar. The largest and most common things in the woods in CT are white-tailed deer. It was very strange to be like, a deer, oddly shaped that is not a deer. Really sad to think that he had migrated across the northern US only to get hit by a car on the Merritt. 2 squirrels were wrestling or having sex in a tree. They fell out and landed on my head, jumped off, then ran away. I went to check my head for any injuries. I felt a small wet spot that was not blood. I swear to God one of those duckers jizzed on my head. In the UK, a while ago we had builders repairing the fence in our garden and me being the curious kid decided so stay there all day and watch them. They were halfway through changing the fences out when I saw something crawl out of the hole. Got a closer look and I couldn't believe it. It was a scorpion. I tried telling everyone what I saw but they didn't believe me cause a scorpion in the UK just won't happen. Years later I still remember this and no one believes me. Guess I'll bury this with me but was still a cool thing to see. People do keep scorpions as pets so it's entirely possible, albeit unlikely, one may have escaped or something. Probably more likely than the giant, and I mean 6 foot across, rabbit I'm still positive I saw at 4 AM one morning. Maybe you were just standing really close to it? Or maybe it was actually gigantic but really far away. I live in a kind of condo complex and a lot of people here, including myself, have cats. I know my cat sometimes mingles with the other ones outside, and sometimes they fight. Anyways, I was walking back from school at around 3 PM and I was just about to walk inside my house until I heard a distant meow, and it sounded like my cat. Then there were more and more meows, and I kept following until I reached someone's porch. Nobody lived in that condo, so I just walked onto the porch and I shit you not, I saw about a dozen, 10-14, cats having a meeting, an actual ducking meeting. They were all sitting in a perfect circle. My cat was a part of it too, occasionally meowing but all acting very polite cordially. No hissing, licking, fighting or anything. Nobody ducking believes me that I saw the neighborhood cats have a meeting. Cat court. The crows have crow court and some other animal does it. I've heard of different animals getting together for court. Personally, I was witness to what seemed like a bird court disbanding with one bird dead in the middle. The head was completely missing as if eaten. There were 3 magpies and a few smaller birds. The dead bird was either a female blackbird or a starling. I'm not sure now. I also thought I spotted a 3-cat court once, but they were actually toying with a field mouse. The strange part there is that I don't get field mice in my garden. So one of the cats must have brought it, and I didn't recognize the cats, so I've no idea why they chose my garden. This is probably a pretty boring one, but while I was snorkeling in Lanzarote with my family when I was 11, I saw a cute brightly colored fish. The water was crystal clear and as I swam up to it and reached out to touch it, I saw something like a tiny flicker of lightning shoot out of its mouth and hit my fingers. It felt like a static shock when it connected and I spluttered up out of the water and let out a yelp. My dad asked what was wrong and when I explained, both parents looked at me like I was crazy. I don't really know what kind of sea life can do that kind of thing, and being so young at the time, I didn't really bother looking it up. But it was always a weird memory that stuck with me. The time a fish electrocuted me. LOL. A chipmunk and my cat sniffing noses, and then they both just walked away from each other. I believe you. My cat has done this with a squirrel. When he was still an indoor/outdoor cat, he's been indoor only for almost 4 years. He killed pretty much any moving creature that wasn't twice his size, including crows. So it made it all the more surprising that he did not gaff about that one squirrel. My cat and a mother raccoon acknowledged each other and the mother let her babies drink from my pond while my cat just watched. It was as if they made an agreement when they first saw each other. This is how it works with our cats and hedgehogs in the yard. The cats learn they can't really do much to the hedgehogs, so the hedgehogs just come and chill and or steal the cat's food. I saw the DVD screensaver hit the corner of the TV screen perfectly. I was alone in the conference room though, so no one else buys it. I believe you think you saw it. I taught my cat that winking my left eye at her means I love you. She fully understands it and winks back, but no one believes me. Squinting is how cats convey affection. So it's totally possible your cat saw you using one eye and switched the behavior a little cause they do love you. Adorable. Yup, to show that they are comfortable they will slowly close their eyes and turn their head to the side and slowly reopen their eyes. Sometimes it will include front leg extension. If you mimic this behavior and your cat reciprocates, then you have reached a new level of trust with your cat. If you were a threat, they would never blink or take their eyes off you. While at a stoplight on a mountain road in Pennsylvania, I saw 2 black bear cubs come out of the woods and roll down a hill into the street, and the mama black bear came down and chased them back up the hill with her paws. It happened, Mom. This doesn't even sound unlikely. Black bears are pretty common in PA. That one time the DVD screensaver bounced perfectly into the corner of the screen. Whatever you say, Pam. Was in my hometown visiting my mom. My brother came in too. One night, around 3 AM, we were chilling on the front porch looking out on the lake. We heard a commotion in a tree above us. Then a loud thud. Went to investigate. On the ground was some sort of snake wrapped around a squirrel. But the squirrel had seemingly bitten most of the snake's head off. They both seemed alive, but barely. We were staring dumbfounded when in a big whoosh some sort of owl came in and picked up the tangled mass and flew off. Even our mom doesn't believe us. Man, that owl must have been some top shit with his owl friends. Unfortunately, his owl friends didn't believe him too. My cat once meowed the Jaws theme while walking towards me. Meow meow, meow meow, meow 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 meow. I walked into a bathroom and saw 2 people having sex. I screamed and ran back to my table at the restaurant. From my table, I had a clear view of the bathroom. I watched another girl walk in and waited to see her reaction. A few minutes later, she came back out acting totally normal. A friend and I went back in and the bathroom was empty. My friends all thought I was lying, but I am 100% positive that I both saw and heard a man screwing a woman over the bathroom sink. Maybe they heard you scream and came out while you were running back and moved to the men's bathroom. You just didn't see it because your back was turned. A couple weeks ago, I was driving past the Chicago Tribune distribution center. In the truck receiving lot, I swear I saw a panther wandering around. I believe you. Supposedly, mountain lions are expanding their range somewhat. This is highly possible. I saw a moth poop once. Wait, WTF. It's liquid. I watched a butterfly do it once. Myself and another guy were working on an oil rig when we saw a floating silver disc about 200 meters away over the sea. It stayed for 5 minutes, then flew off over the horizon at an incredible speed. It was so unusual that neither of us had the bottle to tell anyone, as we'd have been ridiculed. A spider the size of my hand in our living room. Gone when I came back with something to kill it. And then you don't know where it went in the house. Time to burn it down. I also have a spider story. When I was growing up in Vermont, I think I was 5 at the time. I was helping my mom take the dry laundry off the line and inside. When we get back inside, I notice a giant spider, not sure what kind, but it was more colorful than a normal spider, in the basket. My mom and I managed to get it outside and basically sprayed it with an entire can of Raid or whatever, and it keeps slowly crawling away. When my dad got home from work, it was gone and he didn't believe us. Still doesn't to this day. My dog yawned and uttered the phrase "you're safe" once. Socks was a good pup. When I was 6, my dog chewed up a toy of mine. I asked him if he did it and he said no, there was no guys in the house and it was a manly voice. That day I learned my dog was a lying piece of shit. Still miss him though. I saw into the future several times in my dreams. Exact, precise events. I even proved it to one guy. I have these too, but they're super mundane. I hope at least yours are useful. I also have something like that. I never remember my dreams, but sometimes I will, for example, sit down somewhere, look around me and realize I had done that exact thing before. And I don't mean I sat down here before, I mean more like I sat at this exact chair while Steve was in a red shirt on my right and Lara was in a blue one on my left. I would call it deja vu, but it feels way too accurate for that. Another example is that I would be reading some story and could swear I read that part before. While that may not sound uncommon, it is weird when we are talking about a random paragraph on like page 374. I mean, I would feel like I had totally read those exact words before, but only for that paragraph. I hope you don't mind me rambling about it here. Around 2 AM one night when I still lived at home, I got up to walk to the garage to get a soda. I sat out there for a moment just drinking my cold beverage when I swear I heard something moving in a box or something. I got really freaked out and walked into the darkness ahead of me to see if I could figure out what it was. I swear on my mother's life I heard what sounded like an old toy doll saying something like "I love you" or "howdy" or something to that effect. I turned around and ran as fast as I could back inside, and ever so faintly in the darkness as I turned around I thought I saw something standing there just looking at me. It never happened again. I told my parents about it the next day and they just kinda laughed it off and said I was dreaming. I was 16 at the time, so I knew what dreaming feels like. This happened in real life. I saw the South Carolina lizardman, not the guy running around dressed up as him, but the real deal crypto being. Story time. Go. Okay, so this was in 2007. My family had moved into a new house at the back of the property ends with a swamp. Well, me and a few friends were shooting each other with airsoft guns, as was the cool thing to do at the time. It got late and we went inside. I had left the ammo jug out in the woods. I went out to get it. As I was picking it up, I saw something moving by the swamp. I had been told that there was a 10-12 foot gator living in the swamp, and thought that it must be coming up on shore for something. So I went to check it out, as white kids in horror movies tend to do. But what I saw was definitely no gator. It had the basic shape of a human, but the posture was way too hunched over. The arms were a little too wiry. Its back legs were tucked under it, like it was going to spring at me, and we made eye contact for a brief second before shitting my pants in terror and taking off. I saw two birds in the forest fly towards each other. Both were little black birds. They flew in and stared at each other about a foot in between them. They'd stop, then start jumping in front of each other with their eyes locked on, taking turns. One would jump while staring at the other. After one was done, the next jumped in the exact same manner. Still don't know what they were doing. They flew off together in the trees. Never seen anything like it since. Maybe a mating ritual? I've seen other bird species that do stuff like that. No one believes how far back my memories go and what I can see in my head. I'm 45. I remember being bounced in a swimming pool by my dad at my uncle's house. Dad died before I even went to kindergarten. When I would mention this to my mom, she would tell me that it was impossible because the only trip we took to visit my uncle when my dad was alive I would have been less than a year old. I even remember the feelings of it. It was the happiest and most fun thing I had ever experienced and couldn't wait for it to happen again. Him just splashing me around. I also remember from that trip my uncle putting a teething ring on my head and everyone having a laugh, and how I liked that sound and wanted it to happen a lot. When I was older, my mom produced pictures of me with a teething ring on my head and I'm just a grinning baby with no ability to crawl yet. It's bizarre. I remember getting my diapers changed. I remember once crawling behind a chair to poo in my diaper and I thought no one would notice. Someone did. I remember asking when my mom was going to put a diaper on me to have her tell me, "You've worn your last diaper and are a big boy now," and how irritated I was by the fact I couldn't just shit whenever. From kindergarten going forward I can replay a lot, and there are greater gaps in my adult gained experiences than it seems. My childhood. If I sit quietly, I can think back to an earliest memory of nothing but a shape. I can quasi picture the shape in my head but have no idea what it means. Looks like the headstock of a guitar, but more wire form. And I have this deep desire to understand what that shape means because I have some vague feeling it would explain something profound. I believe I have a soul friend at the zoo. The first time I went to the zoo, my mother jokingly said that the camel knew me because it followed me about his habitat. Being young, I just laughed. But now, every time I go back to the zoo, the camel continues to follow me and always seems as if he were waiting for me. Clearly, you and that camel are destined to have some wacky adventures together. I was stationed in rural Missouri a few years ago. My wife, at the time, and I were driving down a dirt road to get back to the main highway after a day spent fishing in one of the rivers. We were a few miles from the highway and there was houses here and there along the path, but it was mostly Mark Twain National Forest. We were at the bottom of a dip in the road and going uphill when we saw something coming towards us in the road. It took me a minute to realize that it was a pack of dogs. Every size, every description. Long haired, short haired, wire haired, everything. Little grandma lap dogs to big rotty looking dogs. Maybe close to 3 dozen in total, just running full bore, taking up the entire road ahead of us. WTF GIF as I slowed down to a crawl and allowed them to pass us. They did so without stopping or slowing down or even looking at us. Like we weren't there. They just kind of split in the middle and ran around our truck. I stuck my head out of the window and looked back as they kept going, and not one turned around to look back at us. They just kept on running. They actually were kicking up quite a dust cloud. I have to admit I was apprehensive about driving further. I couldn't stop thinking about how dogs are supposed to be more attuned to when shit hits the fan. I had no idea where these dogs could have come from or where they were going. It was odd that none looked up at us as we crawled past. Riding on mountain bike trail and saw pterodactyl. It was on a tree branch and flew away when I came around corner and startled it. Told some people, now they think I'm nuts. Most think I saw a large bat. Sorry, no modern bat is that large or has a long beak and unique shaped head like what I saw. Not sure if this qualifies as my story does have another witness. My younger sister had one of those dolls whose eyes moved and it would talk, but only when you picked it and moved. I was maybe 12 or 13. Sitting in the kitchen with my mom when we hear talking coming from my sister's bedroom. She was not home at the time. We both go back and open the door and this frickin' doll is sitting there. Eyes moving, saying I love you and let's play. That isn't the odd part. I pick the doll up and there are no batteries in it. Tossed that possessed sucker right in the outside trash. My sister still asks about what happened to her doll. Sometimes I see movement from the corner of my eye, but everybody always tells me there is nothing that could move. Don't worry, but I am convinced that the shadows start to move around me. Maybe I really am paranoid, but one time a few years ago while I was alone waiting for the train, it looked like my shadow opened its eyes. I freaked out so heavily that I instantly took 3-4 steps back. Since then I have never seen it again, but I still sometimes feel the sensation of something moving in the corner of my eyes, especially when I'm alone. You should tell a doctor about that, it could be a symptom of something, just in case. 7 years ago when I was 16, me and a few friends saw the Aurora Borealis in Toronto, Canada. It must have been at least 11 PM at night and we were all going to a park because a few of them wanted to smoke for the first time. Keep in mind all of us are completely sober at this point. We were walking up the stairs to get to the school and I as usual moved at a much faster pace than my friends. So I was waiting at the top of the stairs and decided I would look at the night sky and try and pick out some constellations as I loved astronomy. I look up and see all across the sky green and slightly pinkish lights. Immediate, I think not a chance I'm seeing this, and after I tried to refocus my eyes the lights were still there. I started freaking out with excitement and called my friends frantically. Asked them if they were seeing it also, which was very assuring to me that my eyesight was failing me. We sat around and stared at the sky for a couple minutes and then it dawned on me that I should tell one of my friends who also loved astronomy to come out and look at the sky. Being 1 minute run away from my house and having no phone available at the time, I ran home and called him to tell him. By the time he got outside to look, the Aurora Borealis had passed. Being from a major city with lots of light pollution, this was an unbelievable moment, and just like that he didn't believe me. In the 23 years of living in Toronto I had never heard of or seen the Aurora Borealis. Even though a few of us saw it, literally no one we've told believe us. When I was like 4, I used to sleep in my parents' room on a couch bed they had in there. One night I woke up and saw a white figure kneeling, kind of like in a praying position, at the side of my parents' bed, like staring at my dad. I remember I looked at it for a minute and it walked towards me and I fell back asleep. I'm in no way, shape or form religious, but I always believed it was an angel. My parents said it was a dream most likely, but I know what I saw and still remember it vividly. Most people forget dreams, so I know it wasn't a dream. The part I find most disturbing is I don't remember being scared. Seeing something like that at my age now would make me shit myself. My grandma is the only one who believes me, mainly because she's super religious. It was a manifestation of your dad's prayer. Please let this kid sleep in his own room so I can have sex again. Not saw, but heard. My girlfriend and I were staying in a remote cabin on Vancouver Island that sits on top of about a 200-foot cliff over the ocean. I woke up around 3 AM one night, hearing whales calling in the ocean. I woke my girlfriend and she heard them too. These really deep ominous moans coming for the water. It felt magical, and the calls continued for around 3 minutes. But anytime I've told the story, people tell us that it would have been impossible. Please, somebody believe us. It was so cool. ISS overhead when I was around 10 years old. Like half my neighborhood was hanging out late in the night one summer day. It might have been around the 4th. We were sitting on blankets in my next door neighbor's backyard and I lay down to try and find the dippers. I was obsessed with space when I was a kid. I saw a star moving at a quick pace and I knew it was a station because we had watched a video of it at a science museum and I had seen October sky like 20 times. I pointed it out to my older brother but he couldn't find it in the sky because he needed glasses and wasn't wearing them. Everyone started to look for it but for some reason couldn't find it. Then this a-hole said I was lying, so I called my dad over to find it but it was already moving out of vision. He didn't believe me either. I was so pissed. No one remembers this happening now but I do very vividly. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.